They said no man should love what lives beneath the river, but Kenechukwu did. The night the river called him, he didn't know love could drown a man.
And I love you more.
Or that something beneath was already waiting for him. Watch to the end, the worst is yet to manifest. It began on a quiet evening in the small village of Umuokoro. The sun was sliding behind the hills, painting the river gold. Kenechukwu, a young fisherman with strong arms and quiet eyes, pushed his canoe into the water. He had fished since dawn and caught nothing, not even a single crayfish. Frustration burned inside him, but he refused to give up. The river was his only friend and his only hope. As he paddled deeper, he heard a sound, a soft humming, like a woman's voice carried by the breeze. He froze. It wasn't from the trees or the wind. It was coming from the river itself. There, sitting on a smooth rock near the bend, was a woman. Her skin shimmered like moonlight on still water, and her hair floated behind her like strands of silver thread. She sang with her eyes closed, her voice a melody that made the river itself dance. Kenechukwu forgot to breathe. He stared, caught between fear and wonder. When she opened her eyes, they met his. Deep, calm, knowing. "Why do you fish with sadness in your heart?" she asked softly. Kenechukwu stammered, "Who are you?" She smiled. "Someone who listens to lonely men." Before he could reply, she pointed to his net. "Cast it again to your right." He obeyed. Moments later, the net grew heavy, so heavy he could barely lift it. Fishes overflowed, glittering like treasure. When he looked back, she was gone. That night, Kenechukwu sold his catch in the market. Everyone praised him. "The gods have remembered you," they shouted. He smiled, but his mind was far away, back at the river, back to the woman whose song still echoed in his head. He could not sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. At dawn, before the cocks crowed, he grabbed his paddle and went back. The river was calm and gray, the mist curling like breath. He waited. Hours passed. Just when he was about to leave, he heard that same song again. She was there, seated as before, combing her silver hair with a shell. "You came back," she said, smiling faintly. Kenechukwu nodded. "I had to see you again." "Do you know who I am?" she asked. "No," he replied, "but I know my heart won't rest until I do." She looked at him long, then said, "My name is Nwanyibuife." He whispered it under his breath like a prayer. They talked till the sky bled orange. She told him stories about rivers that remembered names and fish that could dream. And before she disappeared into the water that night, he whispered, "Marry me." Nwanyibuife smiled sadly. "You ask for a love that may drown you. Then let it drown me," he said. Days passed. Kenechukwu told no one, but his heart was alive again. He returned to the river every evening. Sometimes she came, sometimes she didn't, but the days she did felt like sunlight after rain. One evening, she agreed to walk home with him. When the villagers saw her, they gasped. Her beauty was otherworldly, her eyes like wet glass, her smile soft as a song. The men envied him, the women gossiped, and the elders whispered. "She's too beautiful to be mortal," they said. But Kenechukwu didn't care. He loved her. Within 4 market days, he married her, against the advice of the priestess who warned, "Do not take what belongs to the river." For a time, their marriage was joy itself. Their home overflowed with laughter. Their compound always smelled of roasted yam and palm oil. Kenechukwu's nets were always full, and his fortune grew. The villagers envied him, saying he must have found favor with the gods. But the priestess frowned each time she passed their hut. Some nights she would see Nwanyibuife walking alone by the riverbank, humming to the moon, her hair glowing faintly. There were times she disappeared for hours, and returned with water droplets clinging to her skin, though she had never fetched water from the stream. Then one night, rain fell without warning. The thunder cracked like angry drums. Kenechukwu woke to find Nwanyibuife gone. He ran outside, the rain stinging his face, and saw her standing by the river. Lightning flashed, and for a heartbeat he saw her differently. Her legs shimmered and faded, replaced by a glistening tail. She sang softly, and the storm obeyed her voice. The waters calmed, the wind stilled, and the night grew silent. When she turned and saw him, her face froze. "Kenechukwu," she whispered, "you were not meant to see this." He fell to his knees, his voice breaking. "What are you?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I am your wife," she said softly, "but not of your world." The truth broke them both. That night she told him everything. She was a daughter of the river, born beneath the surface, cursed to wander until love found her. "The day you met me," she said, "I called the fish away from your net. When you obeyed me, I returned them. I only wanted to give you joy." Kenechukwu's heart trembled. "So all this while, our love was built on magic?" She shook her head. "No, it was built on choice. They wept in each other's arms, torn between two worlds that would never meet." The next day, the village began to change. The river grew wild, the sky darker. Fishermen returned with empty nets, and the priestess said the river was angry. "The bond between man and spirit has been broken," she warned. Kenechukwu begged his wife to stay. "I will face whatever comes," he said. But Nwanyibuife's eyes were filled with sorrow. "If I remain, the river will destroy everything you love." That night, she placed a clay pot in his hands. "If ever you hear the river call, do not answer." Her voice trembled. "Promise me." He promised. But promises are fragile things. One night the river began to hum again, low and deep, like a heartbeat in the earth. Kenechukwu woke, his body trembling. He could hear her voice calling softly. Kenechukwu." He tried to resist, but his legs moved on their own. He walked to the river, barefoot, drawn by love he could not silence. The water glowed faintly blue, and her figure appeared beneath it, reaching out. "Don't," he whispered, but his heart was already gone. The moment their fingers touched, the earth trembled. The villagers woke to screams and thunder. The river rose like a beast, swallowing its banks. The river turned wild for 7 nights. Trees near the bank were uprooted, boats shattered, and birds refused to sing. The villagers called it the Week of Drowned Stars. No one dared step close, but a young boy, curious and brave, claimed he saw 2 shadows beneath the surface, one glimmering like a mirror, the other glowing faintly blue. They moved together, circling endlessly. The priestess gathered the elders and said, "Their love is chained beneath. Until one lets go, the river will never rest." So they prepared an offering, a white goat, palm wine, and the songs of forgiveness. They cast them into the current, but instead of sinking, everything floated back untouched. The river had made its choice. That night, the priestess dreamt of Nwanyibuife. The mermaid's face was streaked with tears, her hands pressed against glassy water. "Tell them," she whispered, "love that defies the gods brings ruin." When the priestess woke, her bed was soaked as though she had slept underwater. She ran to the bank before sunrise, but the river was still, unnaturally still, like a held breath before a scream. A distant hum began again, low and slow, like the heartbeat of something ancient remembering pain. By the next moon, the village had changed. Crops withered, wells dried, and the air smelled of salt, though the ocean was miles away. Children were born silent, and elders died mid-dream. The people said the river's spirit had turned its face away. Desperate, they called a wandering seer who came barefoot and blindfolded. He listened to the wind, then pointed to the water. He still loves her, the seer said, and she still grieves. The only way to end it is for one to forget. The villagers murmured, for forgetting is harder than dying. That evening, as thunder rolled, the river began to glow once more, soft and sorrowful. Under the light, Nwanyibuife appeared again, her voice barely a whisper. "Let me remember him just once more," she pleaded to the current. The water shimmered, showing her Kenechukwu, still beneath, eyes closed, hands open as if waiting. She sang his name one final time. The moment her voice reached him, he stirred, looked up, and smiled. The sky split with lightning, the ground trembled, and for a heartbeat, they touched across the current. The glow burst upward like dawn breaking underwater. When it faded, the river turned black. At sunrise, the river was silent. No ripples, no birds, no song. The villagers stood at the bank, afraid to speak. The priestess waded in, and the water didn't move. Then she saw them. Two figures frozen beneath the surface, their hands locked together, faces calm, almost peaceful. "They found each other," she whispered, "but the price was everything." From that day, the villagers renamed the place Ihe Ohuru Miri, the River of Love's End. No one fished there again. Yet some nights, when the moon hangs low, the water glows faintly, and a soft hum rises, a love song carried by ghosts. Elders tell it as a warning now, that even the purest love can become a storm if it refuses its season. Children still ask if the mermaid was evil, but the old ones only shake their heads. "No," they say, "she was simply human in her heart." And when the wind blows across the river, it sometimes sounds like laughter, followed by a whisper that chills the bones. The night the river called him, love drowned a man, but it never died.